SV310S, and what I wanted to show you is one of its features that will allow you to put a modified atmosphere back into the bag. So to kind of illustrate this, I've got a couple of just flat, they're DVD cases and a little piece of sponge. And what I'd like to do is run this machine at a full vacuum first, and then we'll do another couple of seals with a modified atmosphere in there. Modified atmospheres put gas into the bag so that it essentially creates a pillow. So you still have an airless environment, but now you have a pillow inside the bag so that the outside atmospheric pressure doesn't crush what you're putting into the bag. Salmon eggs, birds come in pretty handy this way, chickens, pheasants, chukars. So there's a variety of things that you might want to put into what's called a modified atmosphere and keep an airless environment but still not crush what you're putting in. So let's crush this one once, and then we'll go and run it a couple of other ways. So we have different programs set up in this machine. So on program number 1, we're going to turn off the gas this time. We're going to suck out 99.9% of the air, and we're going to use a soft air feature to let the plastic come back a little bit softer onto the product. So without any gas and 99.9% of the air and no extended vacuum this time, let's see what that does. Close the lid, and once again we are extracting all of the air out of the entire chamber. And if this is going to work, we'll be able to see the inside package collapse fully because we're sucking out all of the air in the chamber. And the atmospheric pressure is going to hit the outside of the bag. In this case, it's going to happen a little bit slowly because we have a soft air setup. So now we're sealing the bag, and watch what happens to the package without putting any gas back into it. So once the soft air gets done, okay, so this package has been collapsed fully. You can see that it's pretty compressed all the way around. If that happened to be a chicken or maybe some salmon eggs, you would probably crush them. It's pretty flat. So let's try it again with a little bit less air. Well, actually the same amount of air coming out, but this time we're going to put in a modified atmosphere or some gas into the bag. So we'll use the same size bag this time, and we'll change the settings so that we have let's see, I think we have setting 2 set up so that we're going to essentially what the soft or the modified atmosphere or the gas does is it devacs the chamber down to a specific percentage. So you can take out 99.9% of the air and then put back in this case, about 35% of the air, which is going to give us a lot softer pack. Only instead of putting air back in the package, we're going to put in what's called a modified atmosphere, or in this case, nitrogen. So here we go. So once again, the process is pretty much the same. We're pulling out all the air out of the chamber. And as you can see, there isn't much going on inside the chamber, but that's because there's no atmospheric pressure on the outside of that package to create the collapse. So the next step then, once we get to 99.9% of the air, is to put gas back in the bag. And so now we're injecting gas back into the bag so that the atmosphere then inside the bag will not allow the bag to collapse fully. And once we're sealed, then it's letting the air back in slowly at first, which lets the plastic collapse around the product gently and then create In this case, we still have a vacuum drawn inside the bag, but it's a very slight vacuum, and the modified atmosphere has given us a pad so that the product wasn't crushed. It's actually pretty much in the same dimensions that it was before. If you wanted to create just a little bit more, in fact, let's try it one more time. We will take the atmospheric pressure up a little bit so that we're going to go to 70% this time instead of the 65 that we had before. And we'll see just how accurate these little sensors are, for one thing, and what kind of difference it makes in a 5% different vacuum. Same size bag, same chamber, same settings. You have to put the bag on these little nozzles or the jets here so the air or so the nitrogen can get into the package. And once again, we're taking out all of the oxygen, and then we're going to put in a modified atmospheric pressure. So once again, you have created a vacuum inside the chamber that get rid of all the air on the inside of the chamber and on the inside of your product. And in this case, we're going to put back in some nitrogen so that the product doesn't get collapsed. And we've changed the setting from 65 to 70, and we'll see what kind of difference that makes when the bag collapses around the product. And once again, your soft air here will let the air back in slowly to begin with. And then once the timer runs out, then it lets the air back in a little more quickly. So this time we've got just an ever so slightly stronger pack than we had before. But still, we have not collapsed the product the way we did on the first round, which is what we were after. So the modified atmosphere lets you keep the shape and texture of your product without collapsing or crushing it. Works real well with vegetables. There are certain kinds of gases that you can get for meats, fish, poultries. Give me a call for that kind of information. We can send you in the right direction for those kinds of answers.